Hey everyone, welcome back to the Anderson Bros Outdoors. I'm Jake, and today we've got the Element Ecto. So this is the black edition. I don't know if it's special edition or not, but we're gonna dive into it. We're gonna open it up, unbox it, do a quick review, and then take it out to the lake and do some runs with it. So let's get started. All right, well, let's open her up. So I guess we can read a couple of things off the box real quick. The truck is $399.99. It is a RTR and it is a Gatekeeper. So these have been out for a while. I'm sure that you've seen reviews and things of that nature on them, but it is one of the trucks that I have wanted for a while, so I got it. It finally came in, and we're going to tear into it. We might leave it stock, we might do some things. It's me, so who knows? Just looking at some of the features on the box here, it does have a Stealth X transmission, aluminum track bar mount, so it does have the aluminum panhard. It's got shock mount inserts. It does have trailing arms, so that's interesting. It's got a rear sway bar or anti-roll bar. It's got a Reedy power crawler motor. I heard Reedy is really good, so I will be curious to see how the engine or the motor and the ESC do. Some additional features: it has behind the axle steering. There we go. So what that means is that the servo controls the steering arm, but it sits behind the axle instead of in the front, which is not very common, I would say. Aluminum steering plates, got a servo winch mount, it's got aluminum shock bodies. A lot of this stuff is pretty standard. Chassis mounted servo, 10 scale. It is 18.18 inches long, or 462 millimeters long. It is not 236 millimeters wide, and the wheelbase is 12.8 inches, or 325 millimeters. Pretty standard, not a whole lot of variance between other RTRs. So I'm going to pull this out real quick. Let's see, we've got the instructions here. Looks like we got a lot of stickers too. A lot of instructions, a lot of stickers. It is a team associated truck. There are some parts in there. I don't know what they're for, but just a small bag of parts. And I think that's it. It smells real oily, like real greasy. I don't know what that is, but it's interesting. Oh, I just knocked my sign down. So one thing that's really cool about these boxes is they're actually, the box itself is like this one's a barn. They're props. There we go. All better. The box itself is like a prop, so you can take the box apart and it's a background. So it's actually really, really cool. I've not ever seen that done before. Not that that's impressive or anything on my part, but yeah. So we have the radio wrapped up. We did get a bag of spare parts. Not sure what all's in there. We'll check that out in a minute. Let's see what else. And so really, I think we need to just do this here. And there we have it, folks. The Gatekeeper in a beautiful black body. So nothing under there. So you can see there's really not a whole lot of diff oil there. So I don't know how well these axles are oiled or not. Most trucks that we get come out of the box, they have a pretty good sizable amount of oil there. Not that that means anything, but it just means that there's not that for this truck. Take the body pins out, and they're kind of painful. A couple immediate things that I notice on this truck. The first one being is that the front bumper sticks out really far, and the back bumper is basically non-existent. Kind of like that. Some other things that immediately stick out are the body itself. So looking at it, right, there are accents that they try and make this body stand out. So the accents like the hinges on the doors, the door handles, things of that nature. They've got the radiator cap in the front, and then the rest is really just stickers. It does have rear roll bar, it looks like, that's screwed in the back. Yeah, you can see where it's screwed in. And then something else that's very interesting is they painted the back like a rust color. So I'm guessing there's paint on the outside of this body, and so as the paint on the outside scratches, it looks like you can see the rust through it, and so it looks like the truck is damaged and rusting, which is actually really, really cool. Body wise, you can see it doesn't have any interior, but it does have see-through windows, so you could likely add interior. I could potentially build an interior for it and print it out and add it on Thingiverse. That's something that you would be interested in. Like and comment below saying, hey, I want you to build the interior so I can print it. Now let's move into the truck itself. One thing that I can tell you right away is that I am kind of shocked it comes with the Dean's plug, honestly. I would assume that it would come with an EC3 or an XT60 plug, but it did come with a Dean's, so that's what we're gonna have to work with. I'll probably have to re-solder an XT60 on there because I don't have a Dean's adapter. So we'll just start in the front and move back. So it does have a metal C-channel chassis, it looks like. The bumper, like I said, is rather large, and oh, well, that's really cool. The winch actually spins. It's all plastic. It's not functional, but it does spin on there, which is kind of cool. It does have a 4-link suspension in the front and a 4-link suspension in the rear. The difference, though, is that the links in the front are actual links, whereas the links in the rear are trailing arms. So it is a legitimate 4-link in the rear. The difference is that it has a trailing arm here instead of a link. There is probably some controversy as to which is better. I will say that if you look at a lot of side-by-sides or UTVs, they have a trailing arm setup. And then if you look at a lot of the King of the Hammers, like 4400 trucks, the all-around basher trucks, most of them have trailing arm setups as well to the rear axles. Real life, I think that the trailing arm, there's nothing wrong with it. C-channel chassis, front links. You can see that the steering servo is actually in the front here. It does control this passenger tire. And then the passenger tire in the rear behind the axle controls the driver. So technically it is rear steering, but it's not technically 100% rear. I'd say it's 50-50, just an FYI. Not that it hurts anything, but just to keep them honest. Plastic axle housings. The steering seems to be really tight, which is nice. The servo horn is metal, along with the panhard mount, so very, very good job there. These shocks feel really, really good. These front ones almost feel perfect. The rear are a bit soft. It's almost to a bouncy point, but for an RTR truck, these are probably some of the best alongside the TRX4 that I've tested. Really, really good job there. Up front, we have the ESC to add front weight, and then we also have the steering servo, obviously. The battery goes in the front, again, to keep the weight up front, to keep it all biased. So you can see as we lift it up, the front end does want to dip because of the fact that it is biased to the front. Moving into the motor and transmission, pretty standard, looks like potentially a 3-gear setup. The only difference being that this transfer case is actually pretty thick, so I'm guessing, well, I know that you can actually put an overdrive gear on the front, which is what we're gonna do before we take it out. So the drive shafts are plastic and nothing new there. Moving back, everything looks pretty well built. I don't know how well this roll bar functions, like if it actually even works or not, or if it's just so it does. So I'm gonna pull up on the driver's side, so it does look like it is a functional roll bar. I'll probably end up taking that off for a variety of reasons, because this is primarily going to be a rock crawler. I don't need high-speed control, which is what this roll bar would be for. Really, I think there's a couple of adjustments on the shock towers, so not huge adjustments, but they are there. Not that we would need them. And then the tires, so the tires feel all right. The compound seems a bit medium to hardish. They do definitely feel better than the base camp, but they don't feel like the TRX4. So I would say the softest compound tire for an RTR would be the Vanquish Phoenix, and then the TRX4, and then this, and then the base camp. I would definitely not recommend running the base camp's tires. We'll see how these do. I don't know if they're actually beadlock wheels or not. It looks like they are. We'll see how well it performs here shortly. So we do have the spare parts, and there are some gears in here. Again, I'm assuming that that's the overdrive. We will put that in before we take it out. The last or final piece to this puzzle is the radio. Let's grab a hold of that, see what else we have in here. So that's it for the bubble wrap. So this is an XP130. This is almost like, reminds me of hubcap spinners. There's some chrome on here. There's a bunch of flashy stickers and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's just a cheap remote. I don't know. It's probably decent. It's got your steering and throttle trims. It's got your steering and throttle reverses. It's got a third channel. That's kind of awkward the third channel's in the front here. What would you use that for? The winch, maybe, I'm guessing. Anyway, it does come with a jumper, I'm guessing for the ESC, because it will need a jumper for whatever reason. Well, it's probably for the receiver, I guess. I don't know. Right out the gate, it is big, it is bulky, it's not super heavy, it's just not, I don't know. We'll see how it works. It probably works better than the Vanquish remote and receiver, which is not saying much, but that would be a huge win. I'm gonna find some batteries. I'm going to look at the directions, and we are going to get the overdrive gears put in, because if we've got them, we're gonna use them. And then we're gonna go to our favorite spot at the lake and run it. So I'm not going to take any other trucks today. Colton's not going to be able to make it because he has to work. So I am actually kind of impressed with this manual. It's kind of like the negative G manual. It does work really well. It looks good. So we're going to pull this apart. And if it wasn't bad enough, we just knocked all of the screws down that hold the motor or the transmission to the thing. And I have not a clue where they went. I lied. There's one. All right, and we're back. You should be able to see both are facing straight up. We do a full rotation in the rear, and you can see the front is faster. Just a note, I had to turn transmission around. Radio, receiver, ESC, I don't know, something sucks here and it's not good. Anyway, so pay very close attention to the instruction manual for overdrive. Stock, the motor actually points towards the rear, and when it does that, you need to change the rear 2 gears, not the front 2. I changed the front 2. I tried to change the front 2 back to the rear because for some reason in their infinite wisdom, the transmission parts just don't. The actual drive shaft portion, you can see here, these metal pieces here. So this metal piece at the top and right above the gear, and the metal piece at the bottom right below the gear, they're not the same length. So if you should so happen to screw the wrong gear to the wrong part, you're just gonna have to turn the thing around, which is what I had to do because apparently I wasn't paying enough attention. I thought I was. It is what it is. So now the transmission is flipped, just like it says it can be. Extremely aggravated. I think that it should come from the factory with the overdrive, the advanced overdrive in it. Initial impressions with this remote, first time running it. Don't know if it's the ESC that is horrendous, but something sucks. So I'm trying to get a very low crawl, and that is about as low as I can get, and it's struggling. I'm just probably not in the best of spirits after having to deal with that. We are going to pull this apart, finish soldering and securing my battery connector because I don't have any Dean's plugins, and I'm not going to swap this Dean's out off this ESC because it won't be here tomorrow. So with that being said, let's get it out on the rocks. it's just, it comes off. It's so front heavy, and it comes off the front so easy. It's just crazy. Try the old dragons back here. Final obstacle of the day. There's a lot of lizards around here. It'll be a shock if it can make it up this part. Bar. I don't know what the deal is, but how's it going? Oh, not too bad. All right, so we're back, and you can see there's at least one visible change to the truck. I ran this 2 days. I didn't run it just one time because the first time I was extremely disappointed and I didn't want to give it an unfair review. First things first, what I like. So I really like the body. I like the look of the body. I do think the Power Wagon is played out, but they do have a full body on here, and I really like it. I like how they've done the inside of the body a rustic color and the outside of the body black. The only problem with that is that it really shows when there's scratches on it because of the black scratches very easy. I like the shocks. I think they're really smooth. That's about all I can think of for the pros. So let me get into the cons. Right, so some of the things that I didn't like, first and foremost, the directions are phenomenal. However, they could be a lot more clear in terms of the overdrive. So I obviously made a mistake there. The overdrive gear goes in the rear because it's not actually overdrive, it's underdrive, I think. I don't know. The book states that it goes in the rear. I don't know. I haven't taken the time to look at it. I got extremely frustrated. I spent a long time on it. I tried to switch the gears out. The first screw that I tried to unscrew stripped out, so I'm just gonna have to buy a new gear set. And the input and output, or the output shaft for the front and the rear, is different. Makes absolutely no sense to me. It should be the same, so you can just flip them around, but whatever. First major annoyance. So make sure that you pay very close attention to the directions. And oh, by the way, they did not label the number of teeth that are on the gear in the optional or spare parts package, so you don't really know what it is. All you do know is that the little gear, the metal gear, is I think 28 tooth. So this one's 27, might be 25 or 20, I don't know. Anyway, you know the little gear is what it is because it's labeled. The big gear is not labeled, so WTF. Well, let's move into some other things that I didn't like. The radio and the receiver. So you're definitely going to want to get a much smaller pinion for the motor because it is very hard to do a slow crawl with it. I wasn't satisfied with it. I think the radio is too bulky. It's too much. It's just an annoyance in my hand. So I don't like it. There was no actual issue between the radio and the receiver communication. It is apparently a 3-channel radio and receiver. Again, I would be switching it out. I will be switching it out, just as an FYI. The ESC, I don't know. Like I said, the motor doesn't have, the ESC and the motor combo don't have a very good crawl control, so I would either swap those out immediately, which is what I will do. I'll probably put a Fusion SE or Fusion Pro in it, and get rid of this altogether. The next thing is the servo. So the servo is already starting to show signs of going out. It's doing the jiggles the tires back and forth, so that's definitely not impressive. It is actually pretty strong though. For a factory servo, it is I would say that is actually one of the good things, is that it is strong compared to most other ones. It does actually turn the tires when you want it to. It does get the job done. Bad thing is it does show signs of going out. Tires are too short out of the box. They hang up on everything. It reminds me of trying to drive the SCX10 Pro, and it just gets hung up and you just can't go anywhere. So I took it out the first time. As you've seen, it just was not sufficient with the wheels and tires. And so I put these bone stock Hyraxes on. You can get these for like 60 bucks for the full set, and the stock foams work just fine for the weight of this vehicle. Two major dislikes with the truck. That was the tires. They were too short and they were not grippy enough. And then finally the rear sway bar. So the rear sway bar was an extreme hindrance. As you can see that it is no longer on here because of that. Now here is the issue, right? So now that is removed, it is very, very, very easy to have the whole back tilted over. It is what it is. The reason for that is because the suspension is actually on the trailing arms versus being mounted directly to the axle. If the suspension was mounted directly to the axle, it would have a lot less of this flex, right? The flex is not necessarily a bad thing. What's bad is that it flexes too easy. So I think some stiffer weight for the shocks, maybe like 60 weight or so, will stop it from moving so fast. I do like the articulation, I just don't want it to move quite as fast as it does. Hopefully that'll fix it. So looking at the footage, you can see that before the changes were made and then also after, I didn't have a lot of time to run after the fact when I put the tires on and I took the sway bar off, so I did hit a couple of the obstacles. I was almost able to hit obstacle 1, which is one of my favorites, and then it was also almost able to complete the Dragon's Back. So very impressive right out of the box. Realistically, doing a little bit more tuning and tweaking to this, which I will do in coming videos, will make this much better. Finally, I'd say the third most con of this truck is the bumper. So the bumper hangs up on everything, literally everything. It is there and it is in the way. I will definitely be getting rid of that as well. I don't know what I'm going to do there because the whole front end actually sticks out pretty far. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to update it and make this a crawl master. The price is $399.99, so essentially a $400 truck. It is a direct competitor to the Axial Base Camp and the Traxxas TRX4 Sport. Which one would I buy out of the 3 of those? In my mind, for pure rock crawling, the TRX4 Sport is off the table, and it would really be between this and the Axial Base Camp. So between those two, it would really depend the type of crawling that I'm going to do. If I'm going to do a lot of flat rock and we'll say a lot of slick rock, if you will, so West Coast crawling where there's no loose rock, it's all like one piece, I would go with the Ecto all day, every day, make some small changes and go out and run it. Now, if I was doing like the Midwest or East Coast crawling where there's a lot of loose rock, I would certainly go with the Axial Base Camp and I would modify it. So the reason for that is there's a lot of things that you're going to have to do to this to make it acceptable to do loose rock crawling. I think that this is a great truck out of the box. If you want to purchase one, I would highly recommend it. And again, we're not sponsored by anyone. If I were to put 4 trucks in a lineup, the Phoenix RTR, the Element Ecto, the Axial Base Camp, and the TRX4. Purely for crawling, I would start with the Phoenix RTR. I would probably move to the Element Ecto, followed by the Axial Base Camp, followed by the TRX4 Sport. We will have some future changes coming to this truck, so stay tuned. There will be some updates, not only to this truck, but also to the Axial Base Camp. So there it is, Black Beauty. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, click the notification bell or not. We appreciate all of the support from the community. Again, we're here doing this just for you. The next giveaway will be a Rock Pirate chassis of your choice. That is available anyway. That will be at the 500 subscriber mark, halfway to 1,000. Good luck and have a great day.